All right. Well, we also watched a movie called Iron Claw. Now, Laura did not see the Iron Claw. It is the movie about the Flying Von Erichs, the wrestling family out of Texas, if I'm not mistaken. Very famous family. I think they had five. No, they had six boys. Six
Six.
boys. Six boys in the family. Four of them wrestled. The dad was a famous wrestler. That kind of toured or went around Texas and other wrestling factions and took wrestling so serious, ridiculously serious. Um, like it was real. That's how serious the dad was. He took it like it was real. It was
Five
life
of
and
them
death.
wrestled.
Was it five of them?
Well, because the movie
Um,
failed to mention one of them.
well, they don't mention one. Yeah, they kind of yeah, they kind of
It didn't
I read up.
exist in the movie.
Well, yeah, I read about it and he said that one of them represented two of them because they both did the same thing to themselves. So he was like, I don't need to explain it. So, um, so the Flying Von Erichs, they have what Kevin was one of them. Do you remember all the names? Kevin,
I do. David,
oh, David, yep,
Carrie,
yep, Carrie, yep,
Kevin,
yep.
Mike, and Chris.
There you go. Who's Fritz?
Fritz is the dad.
Got it.
Fritz
Fritz is the
Von Erich.
dad. There you go. Fritz Von Erich. So there were six family members. And for like Carlos said, five were wrestlers. And the movie
Well,
is go ahead.
I was gonna say the sixth child was the oldest. He died at 6 years old with an accidental shocking and drowning on the property.
Yes, that's right. Yes. Um, and the movie follows basically uh the kids' wrestling lives and it stars Zac Efron. He is the main star of the
He's
movie, Zac
Kevin.
Efron.
He's
Yeah,
Kevin.
he plays Kevin. And the movie basically is about the curse, the tragedy of the Von Erichs. It is wild if you don't know the background of the Von Erichs. It truly is wild. And kind of how wrestling drove the whole family into the ground. And it was absolutely insane. Carlos, would you take on the Iron Claw, the A24 movie starring Zac Efron?
Well, first, it got an 89% on Rotten Tomato. Rotten Tomato got it wrong. This is far from 89%. This was not a good movie. I mean, I came away thinking that the parents, Fritz and Doris, or Dottie, whatever her name is, they're horrible people. They're just horrible people. They didn't want to deal with the children in any way. If they had a problem, they said, well, deal with it yourselves. It'll work itself out. They didn't want to hear a word of it. And then, obviously, the only reason that three of the living five at the time committed suicide is because there was no other way out. There was no way to escape their dad. They just couldn't quit wrestling. They couldn't just do what they wanted. They'd be ridiculed, they'd be talked down to, whatever it may be. That's what I thought was the only way out was to kill themselves. Now I was surprised that was it Carrie was a Texas tornado in WWE. And I mean, the guy wrestled with a prosthetic leg, and he did a great job doing it. I saw some video of it. I vaguely remember him, but like the Flying Von Erichs, I had no idea who they were. Clearly, their dad is the reason for their suicide. Two of them shot themselves. One took pills and alcohol. And the casting for Mike was a horrible casting. The guy's way too thin compared to the real Mike. And the phone call between Kevin and Carrie never took place. That phone call took place between Kevin and Chris. And then Chris, who's not in the movie, shot himself as well. And the phone call between Kevin and Carrie was a little, Carrie was crying or complaining that he had no one. I have no one. I hate being alone. Yada, yada, yada. Little yachty. Well, which wasn't true. He has two daughters. He has Holly and he had Lacey. And Lacey became a wrestler for a while. And the movie, I really didn't feel for the family, really. It's just because the parents didn't seem to give a shit. It wasn't until the last one killed himself that Dottie actually cared that they were just dying. There was a couple of scenes, and I mean, I wish they would have showed more of the wrestling, like more of the who did they run across in their wrestling career. All they showed was Ric Flair. Why was it that every time they showed the locker room, it was only them, like just one guy? Like I'm sure that wrestling locker room's got to be full of wrestlers just waiting to go out, or they just finished. But no, it was just one. I wish they would have shown more wrestlers. They would have had more. Oh, it's because Fritz's WCCW wrestling school. I don't know if it was a school or just the league. Put out Jake the Snake, Shawn Michaels, and Paul Bearer. But I don't know if that came after Jerry Jarrett bought it. But yeah, it was a poor movie. I thought it was a poor movie. I thought it just didn't do well. There were some scenes that were unnecessary. They could have got rid of those scenes and filled in with, hey, this is some of the wrestlers we came across. And yeah, just I'd give it a 2.5 out of 5.
2.5 out of 5. Oh, wow. 2.5. Yeah, Kevin Von Erich, the surviving Von Erich, he was critical of the portrayal of his dad. He said his dad was not like that. He said his dad was more positive. In the movie, he comes off like you said. He just you live and breathe wrestling. If you don't like wrestling, get the fuck out of my face. And he treated it like it was real. We're gonna win a champion. We're gonna bring a championship to WCCW. No one's gonna stop us. I'm like, it's not real, bro. Like, relax a little bit. Like, even the kids came off that way. Like, Dad, relax. Seriously,
Well,
chill.
yeah, when he
Like,
told Kevin, if you sell the company, don't ever step through my door again. Well,
yep.
that's what set off to me that, well, that's why your kids are killing themselves. That's the only way out. There's no
Oh,
other
for
way out.
sure. Yeah, like you said, David overdosed and died in Tokyo.
No,
Carrie shot
David died
himself.
of, hold on a
No,
second. He
I know what
died
he
of
died. He died of acute
enteritis. Enteritis. He
enteritis.
didn't overdose.
Yes, but Ric
No, he died
Flair
of
in his
enteritis.
In Ric Flair's biography, because he was in Tokyo at the time, he said it was a drug overdose. That's what he
Hmm.
said, because he was there. Kerry Von Erich shot himself in the chest,
In the
just
heart.
like in the
Yeah.
movie, in the heart. Yes.
But Kevin didn't find him. His dad found him. In the
Yes, his
movie,
dad
Kevin
found
found
him
him.
with the
Was
same
this
gun
the
that he
guy
gave
that
his
killed
dad.
himself outside?
Yes, outside.
Outside,
But
yes, outside. He
I've
went
listened to
inside.
a podcast on this,
Yeah,
like the true events. Yeah.
yeah. He gave his dad a gun for Christmas one year, and he used that same gun. Mike Von Erich, um
pills.
he's the one that yes, he died of taking an overdose of tranquilizer pills. Exactly. Chris Von Erich, like you said, he shot himself in the head at age 21.
Yep.
And like you said, the young one at 6 years old died drowning. And only one out of the six boys, only one survived. That's really crazy.
That's
Really.
No,
fucking tragic.
the only part of the movie that really I felt any emotion or felt bad was at the end when Kevin was watching his sons Ross and Marshall play, and then he started crying, and then the kids came over and said, "Why are you crying?" Because I used to be a brother. Now there's no one. And then the
Yep.
kids,
Then the kid said,
and then the
the kid
kids
said, we'll
say,
be, then the kid said,
the
we'll be your
kids said,
brothers,
"We'll be
daddy.
your brother." Yeah,
Yep. And then
that's
when he
the
said, well, when they
I
said
just
that,
want to cry with you guys recounting
yeah.
it.
So then,
Jesus.
well, we're great actors, number one, voice actors. We really, but number two, when they said, we'll be your brothers, I was like, don't do that. That's not a good decision. Don't be his actual brother. There's drugs involved in guns. It's crazy. It really is crazy. Kevin, who never wrestled in the WWE, is in the WWE Hall of Fame.
No, the
Basically,
entire family is
the
Von Erich.
entire family is
Yeah.
essentially that's yeah. It's almost like a because they have a legacy, but it's kind of a pity thing, I guess. I
Well,
don't know.
Kevin,
I think it's a tragedy, not a pity. It's just like, holy shit.
Oh, it's
Kevin didn't
wild.
have a good, and just Kevin just wasn't a good wrestler. I mean,
No,
he was
no,
a good wrestler, but
he
his
wouldn't have it. Yeah, he didn't have
character
a good
was
wrestling
crap.
career.
He couldn't work the microphone, which is number one. If you want to be a wrestler, you got to work that microphone. You got to be better at the
Yep.
mic than you are at wrestling. And then even his gimmick where he like wrestled with no shoes on or just tights or just the speedo or whatever, it's not appealing. You can't talk on the mic. You're not appealing. You're not you. I mean, you're a buff guy. You're a big guy, but so are the other wrestlers, and that's all you got going for you. So I can see why he didn't go anywhere.
Yeah, and they miscast the Texas Tornado completely miscast that guy.
He didn't look like nothing like him.
No, that dude is like 6'3".
It's super big. It's like Efron was the only guy who
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
worked out for the movie.
Yeah, well, no,
Super
don't get me
big.
wrong. The guy that played Carrie, you could tell he worked out. He's the lead actor of the TV show The Bear, but he's also 5'9" or whatever. He's super
Yeah,
short.
they were
Like
all tall guys. Like
they were all very tall.
David was the
All
tallest. David was super tall.
yeah, they're all very tall. Yeah.
Did they talk and did they go through in the movie this dramatization about how their dad started the character how that he started with? Did they talk about that?
No.
No, it doesn't really start there. It
They
starts
touched it
with
really briefly on Fritz as a
about the Iron
wrestler.
Claw, basically. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and the
but
Very
Iron
little.
Claw
do
was
you
a
know the
bad title
Iron
for the movie.
Stars? Do you know his backstory, like the character?
I
No,
don't know
no,
who's his character. They didn't even mention his
The
character.
Iron Claw is
no. His name is the
the
Iron Claw.
That
The
was his
dad's
name.
yeah,
Was Iron
and his
Claw.
Yeah, and that was his
backstory.
move. His move was the Iron Claw. Yeah.
He was a fucking Nazi.
Oh,
That was
you know what?
his.
I got that out of the movie. I got that. Believe me, you ain't gotta
So
tell
his
me.
character was a Nazi.
Yeah, he
Oh,
wasn't. He was just like a normal like dude. But
but he
it's in
thought that
like
would
the
put
60s
asses
and the
in seats,
70s.
huh?
It
Let's
was
go
a
see the
great
Nazi.
villain character,
Well,
in
yeah, yeah, yeah.
post World War II America. So he posed himself like I'm an ex-SS officer. And
Well, I mean, the
mm,
WWE did the same thing. We had the Russian, then we had the Saudi Arabia guy going up against
yeah,
Sergeant Slaughter and Hulk
exactly.
Hogan.
It's the
Ah,
political kind of culture,
yeah,
and it's the
yeah,
same
yeah,
thing in the 60s.
yeah, yeah.
Interesting that they didn't touch on that. So I didn't watch the movie, but I'm gonna say that it sounds like shit based on your reviews. I would say watch the
Well, they
didn't
gave
documentaries
a
or listen
rating.
to some
No, I didn't.
podcasts.
I didn't think it was horrible. Um, they just left out one of the kids they shouldn't have. Honestly, they should have tied that in. I'd give it a 3.5 out of 5. I don't think it's a horrible movie. It's very tragic. I mean, like I said, some of the events aren't correct. Like Carlos said, he didn't call his brother. He did call somebody. I know that. No,
Chris
my bad.
called
Chris called Kevin, the one they don't show in the movie that dies. He called him before he committed suicide. But the writers director said I had to tie them both together, the brothers, because I didn't have that much time to, and they both shot themselves. What if I just tied it together?
So
I'm
just
like,
one guy
why?
That's
shot
why
himself, then it's all good.
Yeah, just show it.
No, it was a bad idea. It was horrible.
Yeah,
Show
it's a bad
panel.
idea. That's a bad idea.
that's why the real stories are always better than the dramatizations. Truly.
Well, for sure. The guy that played Ric Flair was horrible. Oh my god,
Oh, I thought the
he
same
was
thing. He was
so
poorly
bad.
cast,
He was
and he couldn't
so
even play
bad.
Ric Flair.
He
He
couldn't
did
play
a
Ric Flair
horrible
at
impression
all.
of Ric Flair. I
When he
was
tried
so
to do the Ric Flair
disappointed.
strut, I was like, okay,
Oh
stop,
yeah.
time out. Chavo
And even Ric
Guerrero is the
Flair's,
coordinator. Like, what's
yeah,
going on
Chavo
here?
was wrestling coordinator, right?
And like, you should have known better, Chavo. What are you doing? Anyway? I give it a 3 now. Like I said, if you don't know about the Von Erichs, you'll enjoy it. Because it is so sad. It's just like, oh, the parents did get divorced. It only took the last son's suicide, but they actually decided I'm out of here. I got one child left. I got to go.
They
So,
portrayed her as heartless,
oh
and the dad as
yeah,
well.
completely.
But from what I read, he wasn't the same character as in the movie. So I can get why Kevin Von Erich, the only living Von Erich, was disappointed. But they also had nothing to do with the film either. They didn't actually support the film till after it was done. But they had nothing to do with the film.
Well, Kevin said the film was fine. He just hated the way his dad was portrayed. He said that was just it was not he shouldn't have, done. He said his dad was a loving guy that supported them all the way, whatever they did, blah blah blah. So who knows? But it's again for a wrestling movie. There's not a lot of wrestling movies, and nothing tops The Wrestler so far.
Yeah, The Wrestler is a great film. Great.
But yeah, like I said, it was fine. If you don't know who they are, you'll enjoy it. If you're not into wrestling, you'll probably enjoy it. But if you're into wrestling or start doing deep dives, like Laura's listening to the podcast, or you just start Googling shit, you're gonna realize, oh wait a second, where's Chris? Where's that? How's this? Da, 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 da. So it's called the Iron Claw. Check it out. It's available to rent on digital now.